Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. I am your host, Chris Swick, and on this podcast, we talk about ADHD, mental health, addictions, eating disorders, and really anything anyone's afraid to talk about, we talk about it on this show. But before we get started, please head over to the podcast page on YouTube with the same name as the podcast. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, or head over to Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to the show. It is on there. And before we get started as well, I believe everyone's story is valuable at the end of the day. Doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. You're all welcome on my platform. And also head over to the Instagram page at Depths of Darkside. You can check out snippets from each episode, little pointers and tips about mental health and ADHD, and just inside the life of Chris and his family as well. But with no further ado, I'd love to introduce you my next guest. I got Tish Gentile on the show, and she's a huge ADHD advocate, amongst other things. You want to take it away and let them know a little bit about you before we get started, Tish?
Yeah. First, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me, Chris, to be part of your podcast and just chat with you today. So I really appreciate that. But my name is Tish Gentile, and I am an ADHD advocate and mentor. I've grown up my whole life with having ADHD. And so my goal really is to stop the stigma with mental health and also ADHD and really just provide education and hopefully provide a safe place for people to feel comfortable with sharing their story or asking questions or just really building a network and a community of people with ADHD just so we can learn from each other. Because I learn something new every single day from my ADHD friends. And I just want to help people. That's fine. Number one goal, just to help.
Where can they find you to start here, Tish? I found you. We found one another on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle so everyone can go follow you?
Oh, yeah. It's truly underscore Tish underscore ADHD. So you can find my page there.
Thank you for that. And what was it like, growing up your whole life with ADHD from the beginning sort of thing? What age were you when you first noticed these things going on with your brain and the way you function day to day? When was it that you were diagnosed?
So for me, I started showing signs really early on. It was in the second, actually, it was in the first grade, but the second grade is when it really started to show. I was being really disruptive in class. I just was not paying attention. I would drift off into a daydream. Teachers, they would snap and earth to Tish, try to snap me out of that daydream zone. And so started becoming it was a problem. It was a problem. I was disruptive. I would talk too much. I was visiting too much. And then it started getting in the way of me learning. And I started to fall behind the other kids in my class. I was having problems with reading comprehension. I was just having problems with math and so forth. And the teachers and my parents decided that I probably should be put into special education. And so I had to take a test to see if I didn't need to be in special education. And it was determined that I did. So I was in special education starting in the second grade, specifically for reading and math. I went to a public school. I just went to a different building to go to my classes and things. And I was in special education from second grade all the way through my high school, through my senior year of high school. And so through all of that, those 10 years in special ed, I went to tutoring, I went to some therapy and so forth. And I saw all of my friends getting ready to go to college. I was like, wait a second, even though I was in special education and I felt like I was, of course, behind my friends that were going to go to college, I really wanted to go. I really wanted to go to college. I'd never read an entire book. Never taken algebra. I was pretty far behind, but I was determined and I just had it in my soul to go to college. And so I really just talked to my high school counselor and let her know I want to try to do this. It's going to be very hard. I know it's not going to be an easy road, but this is something I really want to do. And so I'm thankful that she helped me try to navigate through all of that. And I did start college. And then that goes to the second part of my journey there. So yeah.
For sure. And that's amazing that you pushed through that after being in special education classes, grade two, all the way through high school. Was it did you just have that grit and determination? And what did you go to college for?
I originally went to started school because I wanted to be a registered nurse. And I actually started off at community college because I thought it would be a little bit smaller classes and things there for me just to kind of get my feet grounded and my feet wet with trying to figure out the classes and what I needed to do. And so I started off at community college. I had to take all elementary courses, elementary algebra, because I had never taken algebra before, just intermittent or intermediate, and also elementary language, reading, the whole thing. It was a very long process. And I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to help people and got into nursing school. It was not easy to get it in because I had to do a lot of tutoring. The university that I went to, of course, made accommodations for me where I could go to a different room to take my test, or some professors would actually read the test to me, and they would give me extra time if I needed to take a time test, which was absolutely fantastic. There's no way I would have been able to make it through school without those accommodations. And then, of course, I do take ADHD medication. And it's not for everyone, but it definitely has helped me throughout my life. And so I started nursing school after taking all my prerequisites, got all the way through nursing school, and then had 2 classes left and decided didn't want to do nursing at that time. I thought, this is probably not for me. The hands-on, I went through pediatrics and I just could not do it. There's no way I can take care of these babies without wanting to take them home. If they didn't have a home to go to, I got really attached to my patients and I thought, I don't think this is probably a good thing for me. So I want to stay in healthcare. I just don't want to have the hands-on patient care. And I went a different route. So I switched from nursing into health science. And so graduated with my bachelor's in health science with an emphasis on community health promotion. And then immediately went into a master's program and got a master's in public health. Took a break from that. And I thought, you know what? I want to get my doctorate. I want to get my doctorate. And so I applied to the doctoral program. I was shocked that I got in, and it took 4 years to get through, but I graduated with a doctorate of health science. It just was a lot of work. It wasn't easy. It took all the combination of tutoring, therapy, accommodations, support from family and friends, medication. So with all of that combined, it definitely helped. I think I think if one of those things were missing, I wouldn't have made it through. I think I would have probably just dropped out. And yeah, it was quite the road, definitely. But it was not easy.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to with having accommodations, especially in grade school, me acting out the things that I was doing as well. I was on Ritalin back in grade school, but if I needed a quiet room to go to do work or just get away from the class because I felt I was going to act out, those types of things, they had a place I could go, which was nice to have those accommodations. And I hated French, so I refused to take French class too, so I would not go. So they made accommodations for me too, because I would just act out to get kicked out of the class because I hated French. I don't know what it was. I just did not want to learn French
Yeah.
anymore. I had enough of French after grade 7. That was enough for me. But they made accommodations and let me. I loved working with wood for whatever reason at the time, and I would create different things in the woodworking shop and those types of things. I was always that hands-on type of person as well, but it would never last long. Sounds you went to do the nursing, you're just like, "No, this isn't for me." It sounds like an ADHD thing sometimes too. No, on to the next thing, on to the next thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. It took me a while to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. And at my age, I'm still trying to figure out what is it that I want to do, because I do get bored very easily with things. It's with hobbies or jobs or whatever it may be. And I typically won't stay at a place very long because it's okay. I did that. Now it's time to do something else. And so I can definitely relate to the kind of, I don't like to use the word bouncing around, but it's about bouncing around from either hobby to hobby, job to job, or whatever. Yeah.
No, and I do the same thing though. I did it for many years with job, and I was always blame the job. And it really wasn't the job, it was just me. It was something internally with me, with my past, with my traumas and those types of things. But I always blame everyone else. My perception and everything was always the job. It was never Chris, it was always them. And I catch myself or get called out on my bullshit these days. I have a lovely partner that will call me out, which is great because I need that in my life. But this is the longest job I've had in a long time, but I've stuck to it. And if I just keep sticking to it like I have been, it does get better. Things will get better. It may not be the place I end up retiring from or anything. It's a job, it pays well. And I just go into work, put my head down and do my work today. But if I forget my medication, that's a whole different.
Oh, oh, definitely. Yeah. And I like how you said call you out on your bullshit because I need that too. And I have my husband, he will definitely call me out on my bullshit. And I it seems like we have a similar pattern to our job experience. It's always someone else's fault. "Oh, I'm not gonna be able to do this anymore because of this situation or this boss or this environment or this, that, and the other." And so I'm really trying to stop doing that because it's not healthy for me. And I wanna be able to I just wanna stick with something for longer than a year and a half or 2 years, and I just think that's important to do, just for me.
And exactly, it's not for everyone, but it's for myself and it's for my own sanity. And I can relate to getting bored of something. It's if it's something that I enjoy, I go full bore into it, but a little too much. Sometimes it's more of a manic thing. And I experience that with my ADHD, and sometimes I just gotta and the time management we are talking about earlier, those types of things. I don't have great time management either, whether it comes to my podcast, planning out episodes, those types of things. And I get lost off in La Land or scrolling on Instagram or down rabbit holes on YouTube or something that I shouldn't be on. But it's more just about
Yeah.
managing that time correctly. Being busy and being productive are two different things. I can always say I'm busy, but am I really being productive sometimes? No.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's that hyper
So do you
focus. Oh, you get into that hyper
it is.
oh, yeah. It's about
So it
that
is that
hyper
hyper
focus of
focus.
whatever you're interested in. Nothing yeah. Nothing else around you matters. Nothing, the whole house could crumble down to the ground as long as you are working on what you are trying to work on, it's okay.
Oh yeah, there could be a tornado coming and you're not gonna stop me at this point.
No,
Not that I see many of
not
those
at
up
all.
here. You'd probably see more of those down in Arkansas.
Yes, yes. Being from Arkansas, I have definitely been in a couple of tornadoes, so yeah, yeah. I'm in New England now, so we don't see that much here, which is a good
I
thing.
bet. It is.
Yeah.
So do you plan every detail of your life or do you like to just wing it sometimes like most of us that have ADHD?
I fly by the seat of my pants every minute of my life. In theory, I want structure and routine, but it just never works out. I really do try to have some sort of a routine, especially working full time. That kind of forces me to set a routine in a way because I have to log on at a certain time or show up at the hospital at a certain time and leave at a certain time. But honestly, I am not a good planner. I don't plan trips. It do not give me the task of booking hotel rooms or flights or anything because we'll end up in who knows where and probably at the wrong time. I do not plan for a thing. Yeah. I wish it
Now,
has gotten
how
me in trouble before.
with someone that suffers from ADHD or has ADHD, is there any tips or tricks you could give them for time management? Not that the two of us are any good at it from the sounds of it, but
Yeah. So that is a really good question. And one thing that sometimes I'll give them advice or tips that may help me, and they don't work for that person. But the things that help me with time management is really setting alerts and reminders on my calendar and also setting timers when I'm working on something. So if I have a project, for example, if I have a project due for work and I have a deadline, I have to get it done by, I will break the project up into small sections. Instead of looking at the whole picture of the project, I try to break it up in a way where it's not going to be overwhelming for me and set alerts and reminders in my calendar of, okay, this is what you need to work on for the project today or next week to get it done. And as I'm working on it, I will set timers for around 20 to 25 minutes. That way I'm not getting so hyper focused on it that I lose track of time, which can be a problem too. Or I can that can also lead me into overthinking and being indecisive. And so I try to set those timers to at least take a small break. If it's going outside or reminding myself to eat lunch or whatever it may be. So thank goodness for technology now because that has been a huge help. It's not a fix all. It's not perfect, but it definitely has helped me to be able to try to stay on task as best as I can with the alerts on the calendar and using the timer and so forth, and reminding myself to take those breaks and reminding me of due dates that may be coming up on something that I'm working on. So that's definitely helped me. And asking for help. When I think about time management and I get stuck on something and I'm indecisive or I'm overthinking it and my brain gets on this spiraling never ending cycle of just I cannot make a decision. It starts to get into almost like an analysis paralysis situation where you just give up and freeze. I've learned the hard way to ask people for help to help pull me out of that, to help me to stay on track and stay on time with what I'm working on. And that's just an example of like projects and things that may have a due date. With time management of appointments that I may have with doctor's appointments, that's a different story. I think I've posted a couple of times about if I have a 3 o'clock appointment, forget it. Like the whole day is just going to be a standstill until that appointment. I'm trying to first schedule appointments in the morning time so I don't just freeze all day long until that 3 o'clock appointment. And it's just that fear of, am I going to forget? It's the time blindness. Am I going to get sidetracked by something else and forget the appointment? And there's a lot of factors that play into that. But those are some things that help me. Yeah.
No, I like that you say asking for help. For many years, it was hard for me to ask for help, or even coming into sobriety, getting clean and sober. It was hard for me to ask for help after, screwing so many people over for many years. So I didn't want to think I was using someone or trying to manipulate someone. But those are the thoughts that would go through my head when I would ask for help. But when got honest with myself, got honest with these people, asking for help wasn't so bad after all. As long as you're doing it in a proper and healthy manner though too. It's not take advantage of the situation to ask for help.
Yeah. And the thing is for me too, and that's something that I've really had to learn myself too, is to how to ask for help because I know a lot of us people that have ADHD, we hear starting at a really young age, oh, just buckle down and try harder. Oh, you're not applying yourself. You need to do this better. You need to do that better. You did this wrong and so forth. And so you learn early on, okay, I don't want to be perceived as lazy. I don't want to be perceived as someone that can't do X, Y, and Z. I don't want to be perceived as somebody that is not going to follow through on something. You learn that early on at a young age. And so for me, if I always felt that asking for help was almost like a weakness, and it's not a weakness at all. If, like you said, you do it in a way where you're not trying to take advantage of the situation or manipulate people to do your work. It's not about that for sure. But it's difficult for people with ADHD to ask for help sometimes because you don't want to be labeled because we've been labeled our whole life. So it's hard. It's hard to put yourself out there and ask people for advice, even, or just pick their brain on something you're working on. It can be tough. It can be tough. So,
No, most definitely it can be tough. What I try to do too now, like I get in my own head saying, "Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that." But at least I'll give it a try first before I go ask for help too. And sometimes, lo and behold, it really isn't that bad. I can do this. Whether it's hanging a picture or cutting this piece of wood or building this project that you really didn't think you'd be able to do. But if you just take your time, sometimes it might take you a little longer than the average Joe or whatever to do something, but it's okay if it takes you a little longer. Just
right.
try to do it and give it your best. And then if you still can't do it, then it's okay to ask for help too. But I always like to try something on my own. I'm just like that type of person that would like to try something on my own. And if I don't get it, then I'll ask for the help too.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I always try to not ask for help, but I always try to do whatever it is that I might perceive as a struggle first before I ask someone for help. Except if it's putting something together with instructions. Now, I already know that is not, I don't know about you, but if there are multiple instructions on putting a table or whatever together, First of all, I won't read the instructions. I will just try to figure it out on my own because the instructions just mean absolutely nothing to me. So, 9 times out of 10, if I'm having to use instructions to put something together, I have to ask for help because it's just not gonna get done or it's not gonna be done. I would not want to use the table that I put together.
I'm actually totally the opposite in a sense, but instructions do overwhelm me sometimes, and then getting all the pieces, lining everything up. But I'm very like anal about the way things go together. I'm very anal about certain things as well, and I don't know what it is. I'm like manic about it. It's got to be done this way and this way only. I for time, like if we got to drive 2 hours or an hour to Toronto, for some reason I think it's going to take 3 hours. So I go get all like anxious, and we got to leave, and we're there. Oh, lo and behold, we're there 2 hours early now, and people are like, my fiance is like, Chris, this is what I was trying to tell you, but she doesn't argue with me somewhere, and she's just like, whatever. But I get everyone else anxious because we got to get going. We're gonna be late. Meanwhile, we got 5 hours to get there, and it's only an hour drive. But
Oh my goodness. I wish I was more like that. Me, I am like, "Oh crap, I should have left 15 minutes ago." And then I get out to the car and it has no gas in it because I forgot to put it in there the last time I drove it. And then I get halfway down the road. I'm like, wait a second, where is my sunglasses or where's my whatever? And so it just turns into a situation. It really does. And I wish I had a little bit more of that. I need to get there an hour early kind of thing.
I think I got that from my father. He was always like that, or he always wants to be places early. But I'm trying not to be like that as much anymore because it just causes unneeded anxiety for everyone, including myself. And then it causes unneeded stress for everyone.
I know. It's difficult. I do have a friend very similar to that, and it's difficult for her to not wanna leave way before time and all of that, and if she tries to be more laid back and I'll just go with the flow, you can see it in her face that she is about to bust. Like, she she is you can just see the anxiety just coming off of her, and I'm like, this isn't worth it. We'll just leave early with her. Just it's okay.
Yeah.
So,
I try to go with the flow of things with my father because he gets all, we're leaving this time, we're leaving then. It's okay, Dad. Just yeah, I'll be ready for you when you come to get me. Then if he and he has to drive, he won't let anyone else drive. He doesn't like the way anyone else drives. Sure, whatever.
oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah.
Talking about dads and husbands, I got a fun question. If your husband was a cartoon character, who would he be?
Oh my goodness. That's a really great question. If he was a cartoon character, who would he be? I don't even know the answer to this. I would probably say I haven't watched cartoons in so long. I can't even really think of a cartoon. I'm thinking of like back in the day because I'm older. So I'm thinking like Flintstones and like the Smurfs. So I would say
Nice.
Papa
I
Smurf.
remember those.
Maybe yeah,
Papa
okay,
Smurf.
maybe Papa Smurf because he's keeping things together. He's keeping things on track and all of that kind of stuff. And so, if yeah, I would say Papa Smurf. I know it sounds a little weird to
Awesome.
call my husband Papa Smurf,
Classic.
but
I love
I would
I love
definitely
the
say that.
Smurfs. I haven't seen them in a while.
Yeah, yeah, I would definitely say the Smurfs because he keeps me from overspending or making horrible decisions on stuff, and he's always there to clean it up if I do.
Oh, do you have that problem too, just buying random things that you shouldn't be buying?
Oh, yes. Oh, the impulse shopping and the not paying attention. I could tell you some stories. I could definitely tell you some stories, especially recently. Just some absolute not paying attention kind of thing. It was not great. He cleaned it up though.
Now, is that with, like,
Able to
groceries or just, like,
that.
random things?
Random, just random things. So let me tell you this story. So recently, I have Amazon Prime, and we have Amazon Prime up on our television to watch TV shows, whatever. I log on and I just see a show that I want to watch, and I don't pay attention. I click the button. Of course, something pops up to read. I don't pay attention to what it says, and I click OK. This goes on for a while, and I don't pay attention to my credit card statements. I don't have a clue of what's on there, and I had no idea that I was actually subscribing to all of these, like, different channels and things. on my Amazon Prime. Well, $2,000 later, after my husband was starting to look at all of my bank statements and all of my credit cards, he was like, "You realize that you've spent $2,000 on subscriptions on Amazon Prime with all of these different movies and TV shows and things that you are wanting to watch." And I was like, "No, I haven't." He was like, "Yeah, look at all of this." Thank goodness Amazon, he called Amazon, told them that I was just clicking on buttons. And they were so nice, and so we were able to get most of that back, thank goodness. But it definitely because I was just being impulsive, wasn't paying attention, and then had a bill of $2,000 I didn't even know I had because I wasn't paying attention to my credit card statement, and yeah, so that's just one recent example. Usually in the evenings when my medicine wears off and I get really bored, I'll go on and just buy just random stuff I don't even know or stuff that I already have. It's just because. It's just because I'm bored. So, yeah.
I get it. I do the just because I'm bored thing and go buy ice cream. That's my go-to. I will go buy ice cream, and I will get up off the couch, like you said, within your when and I don't even need it. I really shouldn't go buy ice cream, but medicine's worn off. I feel like ice cream tonight, and I'll just get in the car and drive down to the grocery store and buy a couple tubs of Ben and Jerry's just because, and then come home and eat it all, and then
Yeah.
regret it in the morning because I don't feel the greatest.
I do the same
The
thing
random
with the
things we
bored up
do.
piece of it. The random things we do. Absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing
I can
when I
relate
get
to the
bored and
Amazon
shopping
Prime
or
thing
eating or
too.
something.
That
Yeah.
I did it for a while, and my fiance, we finally got rid of the cable, got rid of things. I was like, she's like, "We do not need all these subscriptions. We have Amazon Prime, we have Apple TV, Netflix, we have," and then, like you said, in Amazon Prime, there's all those sub channels. That show, I knew what I was doing, but I really wanted to watch that show, so let's subscribe to that one. And then I forget because you get like a 30-day free trial or
Yes.
14-day free trial.
Yes.
Forget about it. Oh, I'll get rid of it next month. I'm not done with this show now. And then next month, and then it just never happens because you just find another show to watch.
I know. It
Oh
is.
yeah,
They get me
I'm
every
bad for
single
the
time,
free
honestly.
subscriptions.
Same, because I will never if I subscribe to something for the 7-day or the 30 days, I will never go back in and cancel it. It will just stay there. I'll pay for it for years and not even realize that I'm paying for it. So I feel that. Yeah. Needless to say, after all of that, I don't handle the finances anymore. And he now just takes over and he's paying everything now and making sure that I'm not subscribing or just buying stuff that we don't need. So that's helped a lot. Thank goodness for him because
Yeah, and then
it would
and
be
and
bad.
and I still get to do my own finances. Like, it had to be given back to me because when I was drinking and using drugs, like my partner took over the finances. I couldn't leave that on her. It was She had enough on her plate than to take care of me like a child again. That's a different story. But I have to learn on my own. So I've had to learn to save, put money aside, make sure I have money for the week, make sure I have gas money for the week, else I'm not getting to work. I gotta budget too. I'm bad with that too, but I'm learning as we
Oh,
go.
oh, yes, I am. I'm horrible at budgeting, managing money, paying attention, the whole thing. It's really bad. Yeah. Yeah. It's not good.
For sure. Let's got a little another topic here. I like to talk about sensitivities and stuff like that. So do you think people in this current generation are less or more sensitive than people from past generations, and why?
I don't that's a really good question. I don't necessarily think they're more sensitive. I think that there's more awareness around different things, mental health, just everything going on in the world today. And so, with that awareness, regardless of what it is with mental health or politics, war, whatever it may be, when you see and hear and read the news and people educating you on these things, I think you become more aware and you become more, maybe get more empathy. Most people will be more, can get more empathy in different situations. They can maybe have empathy for people who do struggle with mental health or whatever it may be. So, to answer your question, I don't think they're more sensitive. I think it's more of an increased awareness, especially with social media
I like
days. I
that
mean,
though, with the
you have
increased
Instagram,
awareness.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have all these
Yeah.
things
I
that
think
you
it is
can,
more of an increased
have these
awareness.
increased awareness with. the people out there advocating online on social media, the things going on in the world, it's brought many more people together as a whole to realize, wait, we got to wake up and make these changes because it's not just going to
Yeah.
happen if no one speaks up and speaks the truth. And it's sad to see the censorships though going on about when we want to talk about mental health or addictions, those types of things get pushed down. And
Yeah.
but they're allowing all this other crap out there online that's way worse than talking about breaking the stigma around ADHD, addictions, those types of things. We need to do that. That's why we need to be our own voices and be the voice for
Absolutely.
the voiceless out there.
100%. I often get questions or I get comments, "Oh, I relate to you so much. I feel that I have ADHD or I feel like I'm struggling with this." And it's all about awareness and it's all about providing education and it's about using your voice and sharing your journey if you're comfortable with that to let people know. And I know this kind of sounds silly and kind of pie and high in the sky or whatever. But it really is about letting people know that they're not alone because everyone has struggles with something in life. No one goes through life and doesn't have something they're struggling with. Some of us struggle more than others, but it's so important to share what you're going through so other people know that, you know what? I thought I was the only one that felt this way. Or I was giving up hope on myself because I thought there's something wrong with me. There's no one else that can relate to me. And that's not true. There are so many people out there that have similar experiences as you, and you're not alone. And you do have people out there that care and support that you don't even know. You don't know them personally, but they care about you and they want to support you and they want to see you happy and successful in whatever it is that you want to do. And so I think that social media, there's a lot of positive things about social media. I think there's a lot of wonderful creators and educators and mentors and coaches and all the wonderful things that are out there to help people who are struggling with whatever it is that they're struggling with. But then there's other side of it too that I run into a lot with being an ADHD mentor and an advocate is there are those pockets of people who try to tear it down. It's ADHD isn't real. It's made up. You're just lazy. You're this. And so for me, I'm a big girl. I have thick skin and I can hold my own with things like that. But I often, and not often, I always think about the people who I'm friends with, for example, on Instagram, and who may see those comments. It may be triggering for them. And so that other side of using social media to really raise awareness for whatever it is that you're passionate about, yeah.
I love that you say that too. Be kind. I hear be kind to others out there. You never know what someone else is going. I thank you for sharing that, Tish, because it's so important. We talk about it a lot. I talk about it a lot with everyone. Just be kind. Show compassion, show kindness. Just smile at someone walking by. You never know what it'll do for their day. You never know what they're going through. You're not in their shoes. Take a walk in their shoes sometimes. Put yourself in their shoes and take yourself out of your own and let that ego go and just be kind to someone.
Absolutely, and the thing is too, is people who fall under that neurodivergent umbrella, most of us mask, and so we could walk down the street with a big smile on our face, looking happy and as can be, but inside we're crumbling. Inside we are completely falling apart. And so just because on the outside someone looks like they have that they're put together or they are happy and they have their life all figured out, most of the time that's not the case. They're a lot of the times they're struggling on the inside. They are struggling with rejection, sensitive dysphoria. They feel like they're being rejected, or they're struggling with imposter syndrome. They feel like a fraud and they don't deserve the good things that are happening in their life, or whatever it may be. And it really is so important to just be kind and don't make things harder on people because life, especially now, it's hard enough without adding that layer of making you feel like things are not real of what you're experiencing or like discrediting what you're experiencing in your life. And there's no use in that. It really is heartening. But I will say the good and the positive typically outweighs those small pockets of people who are just rude and they just want to cause people hurt. And they're looking for an argument, honestly, I feel. So, yeah.
There's lots of people out there like that, everyone. You get at the end of the day, you get the choice to either engage or move on.
Yeah.
There's no need to engage with that
Yep.
type of behavior because
Right.
that's not who you are today or whatever it is. And you get to choose at the end of the day your actions and reactions with everything that goes on.
Absolutely. I learned the hard way, and I don't know if this is right, but in my head, this is the way I think about that is that I don't want to give them what they want. I don't want to give the people who are trying to cause hurt or trying to make problems for people. If I engage with them or if I give them the attention or comment back or whatever, that's what they want me to do. So I just let it go and move on. I don't engage with it at all. So it's hard. Sometimes I want to jump on there and give them a piece of I just let it go because they're obviously going through something too. Usually people that want to hurt other people, they have something going on inside of them. And so I don't want to fuel that either.
For sure. Before we go, Tish, I got one more fun question. And then we are at the end of the episode. But it was a pleasure talking with you. But before we go, I got one more
You too.
question. If the moon were made of cheese, what kind of cheese would it be?
Swiss. That's easy.
Swiss. I love it. It's easy.
Yeah.
There we go. And that's one of my favorite.
Yeah.
I love cheeses and trying different cheeses and stuff like that. But Swiss is a great one for everything.
Yes. It's one of my favorites. It's absolutely one of my favorites. But thank you so much for having me on again. It was such a pleasure talking with you and just chatting about important topics. And so hopefully we can help other people. Yeah.
No, and I appreciate you coming on the show. But before we go, also, can you just let them know again where they can find you on social media if they'd like to follow you for your great tips, your great posts, and just having a good chat with you about ADHD and mental.
Sure. Yeah. It's a truly underscore Tish underscore ADHD. And it's on Instagram.
And I'll drop everything in the show notes as well, everyone. But thank you again to Tish for coming on the show today. Truly appreciate taking the time out of your day to do.
Thank you. And I appreciate you inviting me. Thank you so much. This was a great conversation.
You're very welcome. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. You too. Thank you.